Hello and welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews. Today I'm going to do a review of a new album by a band called FM, British band called FM, and their new album's called Synchronised. Now it's going to be released on the Frontiers label, a brilliant label for rock, melodic rock and heavy rock. You know, they produce some of the that label's produced some of the best bands that are coming out in that genre lately, and also some older bands that are signing to that label. And sometimes I think if it wasn't for Frontiers, you know what I mean, producing some of these bands that I love, you know what I mean, they wouldn't be around. So they bring out some really good stuff. So it's on the Frontiers label. So FM, let's get down a little bit of a background on the band if you don't know. So they was formed in 1984, and they've had like two periods where they've been going. So that's 1984 to 1995. Released quite a few albums, disbanded for a little while. It came back and in 2007, and they're still going now, obviously. And this is their latest album. I've got to say that I love their debut album called Indiscreet, which was released in 1986. It was one of my favourite albums when I was growing up, and I love it. A brilliant piece of AOR, melodic rock music, a bit different than other stuff that was going at the time. You know, a lot of the glam metal stuff coming out of LA and stuff like that. This was a bit of a breath of fresh air, really. I think they brought a bit of class to it all, really. So yeah, their Indiscreet album was really good, soulful. There's a lot of other bands that were fans of the band as well, Iron Maiden being one of them, even covered one of their songs on Indiscreet. Yeah, and it was really good. This band might be known, as people who are listening to this in America, in North America, as FM UK. They might know them as that. Apparently they're known as that there. This is Synchronised, is actually their 12th studio album. And to tell you the truth, their first couple of albums in the 80s, I really got into them. I think Tough It Out was the second one. Then I sort of lost them a little bit. I wasn't listening to them for quite a while, all the way through the 90s. I didn't listen to any of their albums. And then recently, probably about a year ago, I got hold of Indiscreet again, because I had it on an album and I sold all my albums like an idiot when I was younger. And I got hold of Indiscreet again, and then decided to investigate the rest of their catalogue. And to tell you the truth, I think their stuff, since they came back from 2007, they've been releasing albums. I think the first one might have been 2010, quite regular. And I think they're better now. You know, they at least match that Indiscreet album, which is a bit of a classic AOR album, but they you know, their albums have been really strong as well lately. So the band consists of Steve Overland. He's the mainstay of the band, vocalist, rhythm guitar as well. Got Jim Kirkpatrick on lead guitar, Merv Goldsworthy on bass, Pete Jupp on drums, and Jem Davis on keyboards, synths and piano, etc. So let's talk about this album then. So I'm going to go through some tracks, my favourite tracks, a bit later on, but let's talk about the album in general. So it covers a load of topics, as the FM albums usually do. Relationships, religion, state of the world. So they're stuff, that everyday stuff they're singing about. The music itself, now it's backed up by huge choruses and harmonies, brilliant harmonies in this. The backing vocalists, I think most of the band do the backing vocals, and they've got a real AOR, like West Coast sort of sound, a really smooth sound. It does stand out from the rest of those sort of bands, it really does. And I think one of the main reasons for that is the vocalist, Steve Overland. So he's got such a distinctive voice, and you know, I've said a lot on this channel that I love I love singers when you hear their voice, you know what the band is, and that's a definite with FM. And one good thing about him as well, he hasn't lost anything on his voice, and obviously as he's getting older now, he must be, I don't know, he must be in his late 50s probably, maybe early 60s, I'm not sure. But he hasn't lost any power in his voice, and he does some really good vocals on this track. He's performed, so I will get into that a little bit more in a minute. But I mean, I think there's so many of these AOR bands around, and I'm not a particular massive fan of AOR. I'm more of, heavier sort of stuff. But this band really sticks out from the crowd for me. They've got something different, and I think a lot of AOR bands around would love to write songs like this and sound like this. They're so good. It's a real sort of easy listening album. Perfect time to bring the album out. I know it got delayed, I think, because of COVID-19. I think it was meant to come out maybe a couple of months ago, but it's a perfect summer album. I mean, it's just, when you're listening to it, you can just imagine top down, driving. It's just a perfect song to have on in your car. Absolutely brilliant. I think that there's some nice simple arrangements all across the album. They're obviously not a progressive band or anything like that. They keep it simple. But I think that's one of the good things about FM. They're really easy to listen to. You get into it straight away. There's so many hooks and harmonies and melodies that it's easy to, straight away, you're hooked onto the songs. The songs do vary quite a bit. I prefer when they stick to the melodic rock side to it. I think sometimes they go into the bluesy rock sort of territory, and for me, it's not. There's nothing wrong. They do it perfectly, but when they hit the more sort of AOR melodic stuff, I think it resonates with me quite a bit more. I enjoy that stuff more. Right, so I've also got to mention one other thing as well. I'm not sure if Steve Overland, he says he's rhythm guitar. I've been reading about it. Says he's rhythm. I'm not sure if he does any lead, but there's some real good solos on this album. But there's some twin lead stuff as well that's executed brilliantly. I don't know if it's the lead guitarist doing both bits, but it really sounds spot on. There's not a lot of it, but occasionally you get a bit of twin lead and it sounds really good. It really sounds spot on. So let's talk about some of my favourite songs. I'm not going to mention all the songs, but my favourites, there's a brilliant, really excellent ballad on here. It's probably the closest to a ballad on the album. Ghosts of You and I starts off with a bit of piano and vocals, and it's a piano and acoustic led in the verses. This is when Steve Overland, especially when he's singing like with over a piano and there's no other instruments, or over a bass and drums and the guitar's not kicked in yet, you really feel the depth of his voice, and I think that's where he really shines. But this Ghost of You and I, and obviously I've said before, in ballads your voice gets exposed whether it's good or bad, and he really performs in this one. Absolutely excellent. Probably Broken, which is the next track after Ghosts of You and I. What a good groove and chorus that's got. I really love that song. Real catchy. Probably my favourite song on the album. Well, there's two actually that are my top tracks, and that's End of Days. That absolutely superb, and that's the one sort of talking about how the world needs to change, and all the problems going on in the world and how we treat the planet. I believe that's what it's about, as I was listening to the vocals. A real epic sound to it, and I think this is, like I said, when they hit serious subjects, the music really reflects that. The sound of the song as well, along with the serious subjects, and I think that's where they really shine. FM. All right, that is brilliant track. End of Days is an absolute epic track. You've got Walk Through the Fire as well. That's one of my favourites. That Walk Through the Fire and End of Days are my favourite tracks on here. The vocals on this track, he probably performs the best on this, Steve Overland. You know, that is a top track, and yeah, again, it's got that real epic sound, a real classic 80s vibe to it. Obviously I love the 80s, and you know, I mean, wouldn't sound out of place on Indiscreet or any some of their top albums. Absolutely brilliant. And you know what, it's, I don't know, I think anyone could listen to this in any genre of music and love it. I think it's something that's really like, it would come on the radio, and you know, I mean, it's so catchy that anyone would get into this band. And you know, I think they're really underrated. They obviously, I remember hearing about them when they first came out, and everyone raving about the Indiscreet album, what a classic album it was. And then they've obviously through the 90s, and when different stages of rock music kicked in, when you had the nu metal and the grunge stuff, you know, bands like this really got left behind. And I don't know if that's why they split up in the mid 90s, but they came back as strong as ever. They really did. But yeah, obviously from my review, you could tell I love it. I think this album's as strong as anything they brought out. Could be even a little bit stronger than their stuff since they got back together in 2007. Is it 2007? Yeah. And I think it's just as strong as anything they brought out. If not, they're getting even better. Yeah, love it. I must say though, I think since I've been doing this channel and doing reviews and knowing I'm going to review an album, it's actually like made me fall in love with rock music a little bit more, because what I'm doing is I'm listening to everything on the track, trying to listen to the drums and the bass and the guitar, and it's really making me concentrate and analyze every song. And I think that's really it's brought out a lot more for me in the music, and I'm loving it. It's absolutely brilliant. And I'll just say one more thing about FM themselves. Don't get me wrong, they are an AOR band, but they definitely veer to the side of like rock. You know, they're definitely they're not thrash metal, or they're not even, metal. They're definitely heavy rock, but they're not a pop band. They are a rock band. They definitely veer towards that side, and obviously that's why I love them. So yeah, really recommend FM Synchronised. Great album. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below, what you think of the album, whether you love it, whether you hate it. Tell me what your favourite FM album is. But no, really good from the boys. So yeah, well done from me. So excellent. So I'll see you next time. I'm going to do another review. The new One Desire album. Probably put that on there tomorrow. But no, glad you liked the review. Please subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. Right, thanks.